Welcome to Course 4. It's me again, Yvonne, the Senior Operations Manager at Explore. In the last two courses, we've already introduced you to our first steps of risk management. In these, we covered how you put a risk assessment together and the use and compliance to standard operating procedures. In this course, we'll be covering what you do when things go wrong. Even with all the necessary safety checks in place, accidents will still happen. As I mentioned in an earlier session, to fail to prepare is to prepare to fail, so you must be prepared. There's nothing worse than being caught out with your customers, being in an accident or an emergency and not knowing what to do. So this is a crucial stage of risk management that must not be missed. So what is an incident? An incident, or an emergency we'll also refer to it as, it is an unexpected event that could result in injury to a customer or possibly a fatality. An occurrence that results in a major claim against the tour operator, an occurrence where the tour operator may be liable, anything newsworthy may result in a change of itinerary, anything that the group is involved in, such as a natural disaster, if they're involved in a hurricane or an earthquake. Anything when the group may be affected by political or security events, such as terrorism. What we do know is that no two incidents are the same. However, what we can do is categorize them. We use 4 categories here at Explore. We use what we call a near accident. This is something that could have been worse. For example, a wet floor in a hotel. Nobody has slipped in it, but it is an accident waiting to happen. So you do a report on this and get a control measure in place. Then we have minor and serious and major, which we would refer to as a crisis. So we use these 4 categories of incidents and emergencies. So what happens when it goes wrong? Most important, be prepared. If you're in an emergency or an incident, make sure you have everything you need to deal with this emergency. Make sure you have a list of all the emergency numbers in the area, including police, ambulance, fire brigade, mountain rescue and sea rescue. Any emergency service that may be needed in your case. Make sure you also have a list of where they're located. Where is the nearest hospital? Where is the nearest police station to where you are? Make sure you have a list of all the potential contacts that you may need, such as the tour operator, the international tour operator. You may have to contact the embassies of the nationality of the customers that are with you. You may also have to contact their insurance. Sometimes you have to contact service providers such as the activity, or maybe the hotel owners or the transport company as well. So make sure you have all of these numbers recorded. Have an emergency preparedness plan for your guides and drivers and have it written down so they have something to follow should they be involved in the emergency. Have roles and responsibilities written down as well. So have the driver's role, the guide's role, the supplier's role, and possibly the hotel staff as well. So who does what? Make sure it's recorded. Make sure all of your staff are trained how to manage an incident as well, because you never know when it may happen and they need to be prepared. And make sure they're also prepared to be called in on an emergency, bearing in mind that emergencies can sometimes happen at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning. So preparing for an incident with the list above, make sure it's all recorded into one place. Here at Explore, we call this the Incident Handling Manual. All of the above is part of the Emergency Preparedness Plan. So make sure you're prepared. Here at Explore, we have our own Incident Handling Manual, which we do share with the tour operator, but the tour operator should also have their own. Make sure you have an emergency preparedness plan for your guides and drivers, and make sure that all of your staff are trained in incident handling. This is your responsibility. In this slide, we're going to run through what is an emergency preparedness plan. You should have in place an emergency preparedness plan for your guides, and this is a list of procedures that they should do straight after an incident or an emergency. It's a checklist. So make the area safe, give first aid if it's necessary, contact the emergency services, or if it's not so serious, you can take the customer to the nearest medical facilities. You may have to call certain people, the tour operator, the international tour operator, or maybe the service provider if it happened on an activity. You may have to assist in contacting insurance companies for the customers. Make sure you keep a record of all your timings and occurrences of the incident, and at the end you will probably have to follow up by completing an incident report. You may also have to obtain extra reports for the incidents from the police or maybe from the hospital. What often worries people is remembering what to do. The order of what we've just run through may change. Obviously it depends on the severity of the incident what order you do it in, but that is a tick list of everything that must be done. How do we remember what to do? We use Omega here at Explore. Observe. Register everything that has happened. Take photos if you're worried that you're not going to remember anything. Make the area safe. If there's a vehicle involved, do not let anybody move the vehicles unless it's to make the area safe, as another accident may happen. Ensure help is on its way. Give first aid immediately if necessary, or get medical help, and then deal with the aftermath and the reports. So Omega is just a small game where we can maybe remember to do all of the above, and remember the order of how you do things may vary depending on the incident. But basically the processes we've described on this slide are what you would have to do in the immediate aftermath after an incident. Once the incident has been dealt with and all the reports completed, you may have some follow-ups following the incident. It is very important that you specify who does what. Is it the guide's responsibility? Is it your responsibility, the tour operator, or both? Both must work together when there's an incident, and your roles and responsibilities should be detailed very clearly in an incident handling manual. So what follow-ups may we have after you've dealt with the incident? You may have to organise additional services for the group. You may have to amend the itinerary, especially if it's a case of an earthquake. You may have to change the route. If customers are ill or injured and had to stay behind, you may have to organise the catch-up for them to meet up with a group who may have continued on with their trip. You may have to assist with repatriation of a sick, unwell person, or if there's been a fatality, you may have to assist with that with paperwork and follow-ups as well. You will have to complete all the required reports. You may have to liaise with the consulate as they may need a local contact. And finally, CCP. CCP is someone that Explore uses. It's called the Centre of Crisis Psychology, which offers assistance to customers who require further care and support after they have been in an incident. It's very good if you can find an organisation locally who can also offer this assistance to your customers who have been involved in an incident. All of these procedures and follow-ups must also be included in your incident handling manual for the tour operator and included in your emergency preparedness plans for the guides. Part of dealing with an incident is also to be aware of what you must not do when dealing with an incident. These should also be listed in the procedures of your emergency preparedness plan and your incident handling manual. Your guides must be aware of what they must not do when dealing with an incident. They must not apologise, as this is seen as being to blame. You must not discuss the fault or the liability with anyone except the international tour operator. They must not give out any reports that they have written or any statements to the customer. They must not talk to the media, and they must not talk to any members of the family of anyone involved. The international tour operator has professional people prepared to do these follow-ups. These are not the responsibility of the tour guide. The most important stage of incident management is making sure that everything is reported correctly. The most important report you're going to have is the incident report. Make sure you have a template prepared and make sure that all the guides have this ready to be filled in should they be in an incident. The sooner these are filled in, the better, the more accurate it will be. Make sure they take photos or even draw sketches of where and how the incident happened. Make sure there is a space for a list of any witnesses who are willing to step forward should it be necessary. Make sure customers contact their own next of kin. Keep a note of any first aid that was offered or refused, and make sure you continue to monitor the customers and that this monitoring is recorded. On every incident report, you must include everything, every detail of the incident, every customer involved, any emergency services that you called on or who assisted you, and basically every detail of the incident and follow-up. We will go through more of this in course 5. So in summary, the main point to come out of this session is be prepared. Have an emergency preparedness plan in place. Prevention, of course, is better than cure, so having risk assessments and standard operating procedures is most important, but you also have to be prepared should it go wrong. Make sure all your staff is trained in what to do, and make sure that every member of staff involved has a copy of the emergency preparedness plan and the incident handling manual. Thank you.